What's going on, everybody? It's me, ABC with the HPP, Adam Benjamin Coleman here at the Human Performance Project. Your lagging leader in action here. I have not been good with my videos lately. I really haven't been good with anything other than getting some workouts in and going to work. By work, I mean actual employment. I know we all have various jobs that we perform, but where I earn my paycheck is actually full time, which is good. It's just more than I've done in a long time, and getting attention paid to everything that needs it, and to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can at work and still have a training plan in mind is sometimes difficult, more difficult than I think it is for not most, but some people, especially people who have not struggled with addiction issues, which I have. It's no secret to those of you who know me, and those of you who don't, feel free to ask me questions. I am fairly open about it because I try to educate people about it and break down stereotypes whenever possible. But the primary way to do that for anyone who's watching and wants to do the same is to lead by example. So, and what I mean by that is, it's pretty easy for me to get excited about whatever I'm doing, whether it's a type of training, whether it's sobriety, whether it's it doesn't matter. I'm pretty type A. I go all in or I don't go. And that's something that I've had to kind of adjust to, because if you keep that mindset all the time, you end up failing by default. You won't try something because you're afraid you won't win, and so you don't try it. And of course you don't win because you don't participate, right? That's 99% of success in life, is showing up and doing it. So staying out of the whole, like, I'm not good at this or I'm not that kind of a person, I think a lot of times we talk ourselves into places that we don't really belong, or want to belong, even as far as our identity and societal norms and such go. But anyway, keep an open mind. That's where I was going with that. Don't discount yourself and your efforts. Be realistic in your approach and your expectations, but don't just go into something assuming that it's not going to be this or that or the other thing, because then you might miss something. You might miss something that would have otherwise changed your day. So I speak from experience on the closed-minded topic, and that applies to why we're here, which is really more fitness. So in the past, I've had really two main focal points as far as my training: bodybuilding, bicycle motocross. Two very different ends of the spectrum. Both awesome sports, both individual sports, which is probably why I'm drawn to them. But they're very different in terms of conditioning. Bodybuilding obviously is aesthetics. It's all in the balance of your physique, right? The size, the clarity, the proportion, the overall development of each individual muscle group and how it fits together on your specific frame. Each individual person's specific frame. Man, woman, doesn't matter. That's what that sport's all about. And so the training is hypertrophy based, and largely nutrition and supplementation are going to be not responsible, but as big of a factor as the type of training that you're following. Intense training never loses its place at the table as number one. I don't care if you're talking about Olympic curling or rugby or powerlifting. That's always going to be number one. Is really just kind of keeping a goal and not being scared to just really go balls out after it and work. Your mind is going to give out before your body does. Always. Not just you, but me, her, him, anyone. Again, editorial you. So having that drive and that ability to push yourself is what's going to make you great at anything that you do, in conjunction with believing that you have the ability to do it. And then, of course, the support system then comes in after that, and really will in large part determine whether you have the whole package to get where you want to go, if you're really trying to shoot for the professional ranks of whatever it is that you're doing. So bodybuilding is hypertrophy and nutrition and consistency. Just trust the process, lift the weights, get the rest, eat the food. It'll pay off eventually. Even if you're not Mr. Olympia, you're still always going to be better than you were before. And that's really what bodybuilding is supposed to be. Improving your body and being the best body that you can build. Doesn't matter if you're putting it on stage or not. So don't get that twisted, people. If you're lifting just to make yourself look and feel better, you're a bodybuilder, right? You might be a different kind. You're not competitive. You're not neurotic, and that's good. But you're doing it for the same reasons ultimately. And then BMX, as I said, bicycle motocross. For those of you who don't know what BMX stands for, I'm a fan of acronyms. If you can't tell, it's an Olympic sport. It has been for a decade, a little over a decade. 2008 was its debut. So 2020 will be the next go around, and it's an awesome sport in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion too. And me being so type A, I've either wanted to race professional BMX or be a professional bodybuilder. And as we already said, two very different things. BMX, they don't care about upper body muscle mass. They care about power output, lower body especially, but preferably total body. But the ability to put out maximum force and then sustain that force for about 30 seconds, which is the duration of a lap, is where it's at in that. So you don't see very many big muscular people. You see very lean, athletic people, not to stereotype, but kind of CrossFit build, where you can obviously tell they work out and they're fit, but they're not having to buy triple X shirts, and both styles of training are awesome. I love them both equally, and that's another thing that makes it so difficult to really kind of stick with just one. But because they're so polar opposite, consistency in my physique has been non-existent. I'm either 200 pounds or I'm like 165 pounds. There's really not a whole lot of in between. And I just kind of recently decided that even though I'm going to continue training, I'm going to continue these videos being training specific, my goals are going to change just a tiny bit, and we'll talk about that more in the future. But what I wanted to get to today really was progressive overload, and what type of training that you're doing. I think that it's very easy to fall into a rut of not recording your weights or trying to push yourself past last week's working weight, taking percentages of your max for working sets of different rep ranges, all these different mathematic and scientific tactics that you can use and should use when you're really trying to be good at it, to get maximum progress. Because why go to the gym, waste your time? Like, get the most result that you can in the time that you're there, even if you're not trying to be Mr. Perfect. So yeah, progressive overload is the idea that you're going to gradually increase the load on your skeletal muscle to improve both the size and the strength of that muscle. So in other words, week 1 might be 4 sets of 10 at 200 pounds. Week 2 might be 6 sets of 6 at 200 pounds with a shorter rest period. Or you might do 6 by 6 at 205 or 210 pounds, since it's a fewer reps than the first week. And then as the reps go down, the weight and the load and the percentage of your output of your effort is going to come up, right? So you're training at like a higher intensity, a higher threshold of what your abilities are, whether it's cardiovascular or whether it's skeletal, strength based. So keeping a journal is a good idea, just to track your progress, just to make sure that you are making gains, because it's easy to get comfortable when you don't have coaches and peers and trainers and people constantly monitoring what you're doing and influencing your progression. When we're left to our own devices, sometimes we get lazy. I know I do. It's not a character trait that I try to nourish, but usually there's a reason for it. I don't get lazy every day. I get lazy after I go like 3 or 4 days in a row of doing probably more than I ought to expect myself to do. And then all of a sudden on the 4th or 5th day, I just hit this point where I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch TV today, eat my 6 meals. And sometimes that's necessary, but making sure, again, like I said at the beginning, balance. Make sure that everything's getting taken care of, at least to the adequate extent. You're not neglecting anything. So that all being said, training style is something that I want you to think about with this. Really, what you're trying to do. What are your goals? Okay, and I would love to have some comments, some ideas. What training style do you use? Why? How long have you been doing it? That's another good point that I failed to mention is the duration. You know, we're talking about a lot of different things, I realize. Progressive overload is a part of periodization. Periodization is how you're going to structure your training over the course of the long haul, whether it's a year, whether it's a decade. It could be a short plan or a long plan. So progressive overload is a principle that you can put within the periodization of your fitness routine, if that makes sense. I'm really trying to improve strength, so progressive overload is something that I'm doing. I've started doing some Olympic lifts again, specifically squat clean, as I'll call it, because it's a full power clean. You're catching it in the bucket. You're catching it in a front squat position, standing up from below 90 degrees, not just yanking it off the floor and catching it under your chin and collarbone at a standing position like you see a lot of people do. And that may have its place for whatever you're doing, if it's sport specific. But again, if you're a strong safety, train to be a strong safety. If you're a bodybuilder, train to be a bodybuilder. If you're a CrossFit athlete, you know, you get the point here. It's easy to get kind of distracted by the glitz and glamour of like the latest greatest, you know, or whether it's a personality, a training type, a supplement, or a gadget of some kind, you know, that's gonna give you 7-minute abs. It's kind of easy just to get caught up in that, you know, and really forget the foundation or the core of what has gotten you, what got you started first and has kept you motivated and gotten you to the point today where you're at. And for all of you watching this, that may be a very different point. I just turned 35 on the 8th of May, and I started working out really not even knowing what I was doing or wanted to do when I was probably about 11 or 12. Told me I was too young to go into 24-hour fitness in East Bakersfield, and now I work for 24-hour fitness, and the East Bakersfield location is no longer there. So things change. But what hasn't is my love for fitness and my desire to keep going back to the gym. And it's really as much to help people and learn from people as it is to better myself. The older I get, the more I learn. So thank you for being a part of my fitness journey. Whether you're watching this for the first time or you're a repeat offender, like, subscribe, comment. I am on social media on both Instagram and Facebook. The People's Champ on Instagram, and just Adam Coleman on Facebook. The Human Performance Project 1, all one word, and then the number 1, at gmail.com. If you have any emails you'd like to send to the email connected to the channel here, which again is the Human Performance Project, brought to you by me, Adam Coleman. I would love to hear from you, like I said, so comment, give me some suggestions, some feedback, constructive preferably, and enjoy your day. I'm probably going to make another video this afternoon, and hopefully I will record some of my training, which is going to be at home. I did attempt to make a training video at my place of employment, but for reasons which I understand, there's a conflict of interest and a potential that someone could end up on camera that didn't say that that was okay, and so it could end up causing me more harm than good. On that same note, I am not a doctor. I know that some of you are going to have a hard time believing this. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't claim to be. I am not a medical professional of any kind. Okay, I do have multiple fitness certifications. That does not make me licensed to diagnose, treat, cure any kind of ailment whatsoever, whether it's a club foot or a stutter. It doesn't matter, man. I'm only here to give you my experience, share with you what I've learned through book knowledge and practical knowledge, as I call it, and to learn and grow together, because it helps me to regurgitate some of what I've learned in a fashion that hopefully is retainable to some of you guys out there. So yeah, that being said, hopefully that clears things up. Hopefully it keeps some of you coming back for more. And those of you who have already come back and continue to, thank you once again. Your loyalty is much appreciated, and hopefully one day I will be in a position where I can say I'll reward it and it'll actually mean something to you, because right now it's not going to really hold any clout. So enjoy your day. Happy Mother's Day to all you mamas out there. Thank you for your hard work and for bringing us into this world. And for all of you who have mamas out there, treat them right. Tell them thank you. They don't hear it as much as they should. So you guys enjoy your weekend. I'll be back soon. But until then, stay swole, stay classy, stay motivated. And I will see you next time.